Hey guys, welcome to the Fuck Around and Find Out podcast. We have a special episode for today. It's going to be a Fuck Around and Find Out Wednesday. It's kind of a makeup podcast, just for fun. We have somebody that wanted to come on. This is going to be SirJackalope. You might know him from the Discord. He
royalty.
Yeah, right. We haven't had royalty on here. We had Princess. We had the Princess of Chocolate.
True.
Yeah, we did. Right. And he grows a lot of gourmet, and his gourmet mushroom grows look pretty kick-ass. So we thought we'd bring him on here and let him entertain you all for a little bit. So, Jackalope, introduce yourself, buddy. And crickets.
Oh, boy.
And crickets.
No.
And crickets.
Look at his...
Oh, he's live.
Oh, I guess I can't let my screen time out and go black. Oh, shit. Well, hey, I said hi to you guys again, even though we had our little discussion beforehand. But
it's too late. You ruined it.
Yeah, you were supposed to introduce yourself. Introduce yourself.
All right, let's start over. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, actually, I could totally flip this out if you want.
No,
why bother?
Yeah,
exactly.
This is pretty on par for us. This is professional. We're professionals.
Keep it on the fly.
So, all right, bud. Introduce yourself. How did you get into gourmet mushrooms? What made you want to grow gourmets to begin with?
Gourmets.
Well,
yes.
I mean, I didn't get into gourmets until after I went through my first active phase, which is maybe for about a year. So gourmets. Do you want me to talk about that at all, or should I just go straight into gourmets?
Dude, you talk about whatever you want.
Talk about whatever you want, buddy.
Yeah, so I got into actives first. And actually, it was funny. I was on your Discord and just saw one of the members talking about starting off with UV tech. The good old Uncle Ben's. I know you guys love that word, too.
Yeah, it hurts.
So... But that's not what got me started. I actually bought from, Midwest Grow Kits or what?
Yeah, they work. They're not sponsoring us, unfortunately.
But they should. I can tell whenever his screen dies because look at the audio on it.
Oh man, I gotta keep staring at that or fix this.
That's an Apple device. That's why it's not an adult computer. It's designed for kids.
I have an Apple, motherfucker.
Well, you're a child. Nobody's going to.
But I read at a fifth grade level.
I was like, not a single person that listens to this is going to ever argue that any of us are adults. Yeah. Right? I thought I was an adult once. My child even thinks I'm not an adult. She just war cried because she's LARPing that she's Sonic the Hedgehog. And he has a war cry for some reason.
Interesting. I remember that in the video game.
Man, she really loves that Sonic the Hedgehog, huh?
Oh, I don't know why. It's just a phase. All right, buddy. Let's talk about your mushrooms.
I turned the thing off so the screen won't go off.
Beautiful. There you go.
Yeah, I can do that much.
Problem solved.
So anyway, I went spore syringe straight into PF Tech jars, all the way through with the perlite and everything and tubs, and then I had success. I think was all 4 or whatever I got. And while I was waiting for those, I started watching videos more. And that's when, of course, the algorithms brought up the UV tech thing. So I had to try it. I didn't have a pressure cooker or anything. So I did it. And, it was pretty much half and half, but whatever.
What strain were you using?
I started off with the classics pretty much. So I started off with Golden Teacher, B+, or B positive.
Dare say B positive.
Hey, I've heard that fight many times, man, and I think either way is cool by me, so I don't care.
I like B positive.
And then the Sporeworks Penis Envy, and I got some AA plus, and those were totally contaminated from them, so I didn't use. I never grew those out.
Did you email them? Because they will send you a replacement within 3 days.
I was so new, man. I was just I couldn't figure out why. I didn't realize till probably a year after growing. I was like, oh, that's why those things didn't work. When I started being able to, identify bacteria or contaminants and things. So I just thought I was doing something wrong. I was brand new to the thing, you know?
Right.
Nice.
So whatever. Little lost, but that's fine. And
it does take skill to mess up a PF tech, though. It does take skill.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So it could have been me, but honestly, I found that syringe recently and tried putting it on agar, and it just, I mean, it was a couple years old at this point, and it just totally like didn't do anything. It just kind of looked like water, like that bacterial watery white stuff on top.
Slime. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to get antibiotic agar. You'd have to get antibiotic agar for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was my active phase, the first one, and I just, you know, I did it so I could I wanted to try microdosing. I was kind of depressed. I was a new father and learning how to.
Yeah, you had your postpartum depression.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I heard they have that for men, so maybe.
Well, it happens when you're in a relationship. You'll pick up the hormones. People's hormones tend to balance out with their mate quite a bit.
Yeah,
it's
no wonder every girl I ever date is just fucking crazy.
Well, right? It's just you, dude. You have a fucking fucked up hot crazy matrix.
Listen, if I see red flags, I know that's my future ex right
there.
Daddy issues.
Yep.
Come to me. Yeah.
You guys want to know something terrible?
Dude, what?
I tried to get these new. All right, I hear it. I tried to get this agar done before I got on with you guys. So I made two. Yeah. So I made two of them, and everything just started going later and later, you know, with the kids and all that. So right now they're on the stirrer, and I'm probably gonna have to pour it while I'm talking to you guys.
Well, I would not recommend that, only because you just talking like that, you're gonna tam out half of them. You can just put them somewhere and put them in boiling water again, and they're already sterile.
Yeah.
You don't need a rush, man.
They go back to liquid really easily. What is it, like 185 degrees or something like that?
I don't even think it's that high, to be honest. Is it?
I think it depends. Like, are you using that telephone brand agar, or are you using like chemistry brand agar,
it's
actual
just
pure agar?
It's that Fit Lane brand off of Amazon. I don't know. It's just agar.
So it's like pharmaceutical grade then at that point. If it's not telephone brand, I consider like food grade, and then like anything else that you buy that's going to come in like actual container instead of a little pouch from behind like some hookahs is going to be like pharmaceutical grade.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll have a lower melting point. So it'll probably 165, 170.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I totally forgot about that. I've heard about that before, and I've just never done it. So that's good.
I do it to clean them out, like clean out my flasks, because I'll boil a little bit of water and dump them in the hot water for a while instead of trying to chase and scrub it all out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't even have those. What do you call those media bottles? I don't even have any of those. I just use mason jars.
Dude, I just use quart jars.
Mason jars work great. I use Erlenmeyer flasks just because I like the big, flat, solid bottom of them. You can set them anywhere. And the little neck is nice to hold on to. But other than that, I mean, I just use the 1 liter Erlenmeyer flask. Right. They're cheap as shit here locally. I think I pay $7 for a big ass Erlenmeyer flask.
You can get a decent one for like freaking $18 on Amazon, I think.
Yeah, you know,
locally they're so cheap.
Yeah, that's the reason. Like, I try to, you know, at this point, the last year or so, I've just tried to find everything as cheaply as possible, and that's, you know, I've been pretty broke, man. I got 3 kids, so so I've just been using quart jars, but you know, taxes just came back, and I got myself some nice media bottles coming.
Oh, nice.
I'm always dripping with those quart jars. What's that?
I said, if you're getting media bottles, I need media bottles.
Yeah, right? They're pretty nice. The media bottles really last a long time. I think the first media bottle I ever used was a glass water. Like, I bought water at a fancy gas station, and it was like a glass. I bought it specifically because it was a glass bottle, and I used that for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works fine. Until one day, like, the bottom just broke out of it. It wasn't, it's glass. It's not heat resistant. It's designed to hold water.
Right.
It just eventually died.
Yeah, those apple cider vinegar jars? I was using that for maybe about 6 months, and the bottom just blew out of that last time. Right.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple weeks ago.
So did you put it in the pressure cooker cold when you into the steam? And
no, I always pour the agar when it's hot. Man, it's gonna be hard to transition the way I say agar. I guess we can all just say it different, right?
Yeah. You can say however you want.
Like, they don't use it that way.
Agar, doesn't matter.
I call it a jar.
Yeah,
a jar. A jar.
That's the French version.
It's fancy.
Damn French. Surrender monkeys.
How did I know you'd come up with something inappropriate, man? I've heard the whole hands up
joke. So how long you were doing it for a year, you said, for the actives before you went
to
gourmet?
Yeah, so actives for about that long, and then I just grew them for myself, and I wanted to microdose, and I did for a good long time, and then maybe like for a year. Then I stopped for a while, and I started microdosing again, and that was recently. That's like since I got back into them.
What kind of schedule were you doing?
I tried, there's all the, what is it? Rick Strassman, Stamets. They all have different recommendations. So I tried both of theirs. And
at the same time.
Right. Yeah. So every single day, 7 days a week. But no, not really. So I tried both of their recommendations, and then I just kind of fucked around until I felt like it worked well. And now I do three days on, 1 day off, and just keep that going steady. And it's been the best yet.
Keeps you in your happy space?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to find what works for your body chemistry.
Right.
Everybody's different.
Yeah. The other one, I think Stamets was 4 days on, 3 days off, and that one, I don't know why.
He stacks lion's mane and shit with it too, doesn't he? And niacin,
yeah,
and a whole bunch of
niacin to block any kind of whatever. He has his whole reason for all that, but lion's mane, of course, is great with it. I've never tried anything with niacin, at least on purpose.
You never know when the shit's cut with.
Right. Exactly.
So what got you into gourmets?
Well, pretty much when I stopped that, I'm a real big I love the occult and stuff, so I'm a huge Aleister Crowley fan, and some other things like that. But I really got into that, and I was kind of like focusing on this spiritual life and whatnot. But that just kind of put me into a pretty depressed state the further I got into it. I mean, it's so you could spend a lifetime reading all of his stuff, and
sounds like a hobby to keep up with if it's making you depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's probably the goal of anything Crowley. Anything Crowley is it's kind of a downhill slippery slope.
It is, but there's like this regimen you can follow, and there's different schools and orders and this and that. So whatever, that all that, like, it's great. I learned so much from it, but at the same time, I just gotta step back, just like anything else, step back for a while and let that sit. So
it's like classes, like you mean classes, like you're like Purple Dragon and shit, or
no, they do. There's like his whole order was the AA, which was like his lineage from him. He would teach somebody, and then that person would teach somebody, but you follow different, what do you call it? Different grades within the order. So, or within the school.
Sounds like a fucking Jedi.
Yeah, man. If any true members of the AA heard me talking about this, they would think I'm a fucking idiot. But a lot of them are super self-righteous anyway. So fuck them. But
they're on Shroomeri, you mean?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Just like Shroomeri, but in the occult world. So basically,
we need better organization for our cult, because I mean, we don't even have like principles.
Principles, morals,
Yeah,
we have none of those.
But you go with the flow. I mean, I think you know, the whole FAFO thing is, it's like, it pretty much is the most natural form of anything, man. It's if you are constantly reinventing and then taking steps back, reinventing, that's as natural as it gets. It's the ebb and flow,
Yeah,
right?
we really encourage people to experiment. It doesn't matter if you've done something the same way 3 million times. Try it a different way. See what happens. Like the worst thing that happens is you fail. And even in failing, right there, even in failing, you put a cookie in your mouth, like my daughter just did, you learn something. So it's always a good thing to play and experiment. And people just get this in their head, and they're taught from school you can only do something one way, and that's the only right way to do it. And it's no, there's a billion right ways to get to the same destination. And if it requires you to do a couple of extra steps for no fucking reason, do them. I do. Yeah. I mix. There's some stuff that I make, like my liquid culture, is way overly freaking complex for no other reason than I enjoy the process.
Yep.
That's it. I can make it super simple, but fuck it. I have to add all sorts of straining steps and pouring shit from one thing to another. Got a whole mad scientist looking setup to make.
There's mantras and candles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sacrifice a goat, like the whole 9 yards. Yeah. And it's just because it's fun. I enjoy the process. Like if it, and that's what works for me. And
that's why I still prepare my grains the same way. I could, the whole no soak, no simmer thing. Everybody loves that. There's, other soaking overnight in a bucket or whatever, and you don't have to worry about it. But I actually like boiling them in the, in a big pot, pouring them all out on a screen, and,
don't be stealing my shit.
What's that?
Don't be stealing my shit.
I saw that you did that the other day. I'm like, man, I do that exact thing. I have a couple old screens. I just throw them right over the sink.
Yeah. I ferment everything because I like to wake up those endospores and then kill them.
Yeah.
So, I like that. Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you this, man. Let me ask you this. So when I was doing the gourmets, the whole spit in the bucket thing.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, I did it with oats, and I'd pour them in the bucket, spit in it, open it the next day, it'd be all bubbly, and that means they're fermenting, right? You woke them up.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't need to spit in there. There's plenty of yeast just on the grain. But the guy that Mossy Creek was the guy who was showing everybody a video spitting in the bucket.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I can even picture that exact what he was even wearing at the time when he spit in the bucket. But this is very iconic. Everybody's like, I got spit in the bucket. I'm like, go for it, bro. But it's not necessary. What you're doing when you're spitting in the bucket is just adding more bacteria and not necessarily more yeast, which you're already on the grain. You're not going to end up with any sort of bad anything happening from spitting in the bucket because you're going to sterilize it anyway.
No chlamydia.
Human mouths are pretty damn dirty, like really, really terrible.
So maybe it's just like it's just useful for the sign of like, all right, fuck it, I'm done. Like one last little, like you spit on the ground after you accomplish something.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need a freaking hockaloogie in there. I strongly suggest people don't. That's disgusting. But what they're just doing is adding some saliva to the bucket, is just inoculating the bucket. I've done it many, many times where I'll just take like a little bread yeast and throw it in there if I want to speed it the hell up and have a yeast cake on the bottom. So you'll end up, if you add just a pinch of bread yeast to it or a packet of bread yeast to it, I mean, those are like less than $1 a piece. You'll end up with a yeast cake, like a legitimate yeast cake on the bottom. And I like to mix that back into the grain. I pour it off because it sticks to the bottom of the bucket, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll pour off the grain and then I'll take that yeast cake with like a spatula and mix it up and then pour it over the top of the grain again because I want all that yeast in there. So when I pressure cook, it dies. And it might as well just be adding nutritional yeast right to my grain that way. But for free.
Just made that up off the cuff this very second.
No, that's like you ferment everything. I ferment, big proponent of fermenting everything.
Oh, I ferment. It's definitely you'll definitely see a difference.
Yeah, big difference. The bioavailability of anything fermented is quite a bit higher. you've got it adds a lot of vitamins to things because you can look into fermented foods for humans anyway. Yeah, it adds that's enough. It adds a lot of A vitamins and, man, it makes the availability of D3. Yeah.
It's basically like you're making your own Peptone, It's
very, very similar. Which is that in the yeast? Yeah, and the yeast cake back to it. It's just dead bodies. The more dead bodies, the better.
That's why you throw the grasshoppers in there, huh?
I don't throw them in there. I just don't clean them out.
Yeah, you leave them.
Yeah. I'm not going out there with like a butterfly net catching animals and going, you're about to fucking die.
Yeah, that's what Chinese
you're my green spawn.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't fish out any of the dead stuff. I do like whatever floats to the surface. I find that like the grains that like have ergot or how do you say ergot, whatever. Yeah, those ones will float to the surface, and I do scrape that stuff off and chuck it over just into the grass.
Yeah.
But and then like there'll be some other little random stuff that floats to the surface. But if it doesn't float to the surface in the first 2 seconds of me stirring it, it's going right in the grain spawn.
Yeah. Nice. Hey, speaking of ergot or ergo or however you say it, there's this guy who's been looking around at, I told you I'm into some of the ancient mysteries, man. Nice. Anyway, there's this guy that's been looking into ancient cultures, and with modern testing, they can actually scrape some of this pottery and see what the last drinks or food that were in these bowls. And he's been convinced that the Eleusinian mysteries were straight up. They were drinking ergot. That's what it came down to, because they made their own beer. The barley and ergot kind of grows or whatever. And they were sick. So his idea was that, they actually had some psychotropic activity going on in their beer. And he dug and got access to the Vatican and all this, and ended up coming up with at least one sample from one ancient culture in that area where there was ergot or ergo within the remnants of that pottery.
That stuff doesn't play, man. Like if you look at the acute poisonings from that, like parts of your body will just lose blood flow, right? So it's like you could be just like, oh, I'm just fine. I eat my moldy ass bread, and then like your hand just it feels like you're having a stroke in your hand because just for some reason it causes widespread vascular constriction, but usually peripheral. So like you'll lose toes. It'll just that left pinky toe, fuck that one. Just cuts the blood supply off to it, and it'll rot off and die. So that's why they were like, if you look at the Salem witch trials, they were trying to say that a lot of that might have been brought up by the eating ergo too, or ergot.
They were paralyzed pretty much.
They would have paralyzed symptoms. Their fingertips would turn black. Their nose might turn black. They would have hallucinations.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so, like, you're like, that's a witch. You're like, she needs medical attention, bro. But look, murder.
Yeah. That's the cleanest the most sanitary medical practice they had back then. Was burn them at the stake.
Fly fire, yeah.
If it doesn't float.
Tie a rock to her. If she floats, she's a witch. If she sinks, she's forgiven. It's like fucked either way, right? That was appropriately timed, Tiny. It's good job.
Most definitely. So
it's pretty neat.
You want me to get back to that story?
Yeah, go for it, brother. It's your podcast.
Yeah, it's mine. All right. So when after the basically going through those phases or whatever, I started like paying attention to some of the algorithms on YouTube, and they were showing me different Southwest mushrooms videos, which I had seen a few of his when I was just learning mushrooms in the first place, and then Mossy Creek and all the other guys, Eric Myers and all them, and I really got into the. I was a vegetarian at the time, and I was looking for other foods to.
Of everything everybody said on this podcast, that's the first thing that Deadpool goes ew to. Like,
Yeah, no, it was horrible, man. I was withering away. I mean, I had done it before, and this time I thought I could do it better, but it got to the point where, with the kids and stuff, I wasn't making anything healthy for myself. So basically being a vegetarian to die slowly, because you can't live on pasta, and that's pretty much what I end up eating half the time. You know what I mean? So I started eating meat again anyway. But yeah, at the time I was looking for other food to eat. So I was like, shit, I got to grow some of these gourmets. I haven't done it yet. So I got to do it. So I bought some cultures online and started growing them in my basement. I was doing it on beet pulp pellets and wood pellets. And it worked a little bit, but those beet pulps are pretty terrible overall. I wouldn't recommend it. People say they're fine, but they didn't work for me. I mean,
never tried those.
Yeah, things grew. I mean,
I've never tried them either.
Yeah, I've had oysters. Oysters and Reishi actually did pretty well on them, which was weird.
Reishi doesn't give a shit. It's like the honey badger. Fucking
yeah, that's why.
Reishi will eat your freaking drywall paper in your house if you let it.
Yeah,
that shit doesn't play, man. It'll eat anything.
I'm training it to eat fingers.
Nice.
Yeah, don't teach mushrooms to eat people. We watch Last of Us together as a group. Let's not do this. But
yeah,
no,
and like that stuff. When you go to, I was doing it in bags, of course, but when you go to throw those out, it's like throwing away straight up like leather. I mean, it's solid. That stuff you can hardly rip it if it's growing up the sides of the bag.
Yeah, you can dehydrate that, all of that, and powder it. It works fine.
Oh yeah, I got bags.
Yeah, all that leathery crap. Yeah, it works great. I never even do grain spawn for reishi. I just inject it straight into the substrate, just straight in.
Really?
I don't do. Yeah, fuck it. There's no reason. Reishi don't give a shit. It doesn't care. All you're doing by injecting, if you're doing a liquid culture and you just inject it straight into the bag with reishi, all you're doing is delaying the fruiting by maybe a week. Because it grows, it's so aggressive in like wood pellet and the 70-30 that we do, the 70% hardwood pellets and the 30% alfalfa pellets with a little erythritol in there. It's so aggressive in growing in that you're only delaying the fruiting by like a week. So you don't even need to do grain spawn. You can do 300 blocks in an hour. Just go down the line and inject them.
Huh. I'll have to try that next time. There's a reishi for you guys before it starts fruiting. I mean, you'll see like the growth coming up the bag. It'll form like a little like bowl almost in the center before any fruits come up. But
yeah, it'll go right up. It won't open up until it hits the filter tag.
Yeah, like that must be it, because I did it always. I always did it in vitro, and it was like the fruits took forever before you'd actually see like the antlers coming up. That's the kind I was growing, with just some antlers.
They're all the same. The reishi is all the same. Hey, the only difference between the two is the amount of carbon dioxide. That's it. So if you have a high carbon dioxide, you get antlers. If you have a low carbon dioxide, you get the big fern gully looking.
The conch.
Yeah, the big conchs. That's all. And you can get it to fruit any way you want by doing that. I've seen people use fancy tints and dry ice to get the carbon dioxide up to get these big, like 12-inch tall antlers. But not necessary. Not necessary. I've always just waited till the block looked like crap and has a bunch of like mite piss all over it, and then just cut an X somewhere and just let it go to town.
Yeah,
it's the most like contamination resistant stuff too. You can have trick on it. You just hit the damn thing, the spot with a blow torch. And it grows. It's like, oh, really? Challenge accepted, and goes right back through the blowtorched area.
Nice.
Like it does not care.
It doesn't. Yeah, that stuff is crazy, man. I mean, it'll colonize a bag in days. A couple days.
Have you ever seen it drop spores?
So I know it's super fast. I mean, I've seen the spores. I've never seen it drop them.
Yeah.
Well, no, they end up on top of the conch.
I've never seen
like
it
a quarter-inch thick.
They just like elevator out the top of the freaking conch. Like so thick, like chocolate powder spooned up on top of the damn thing. Like
it's hard to get them off too, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Now you have to rinse them off, but they're hygroscopic, so they just kind of like they kind of shed the water. But there's like, if you forget, I still have to this freaking day a black plastic like, what do you call those, shelving that is like red tinted because of the spores from a freaking reishi. Because it gets on there, like if you, it sporulates so quickly. Like you can go, hey, that conch looks really pretty. I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to harvest that in the morning. You wake up in the morning and the whole fucking tent is, it looks like you took red chocolate powder and threw it everywhere.
Oh, it's like, nasty.
Yeah. And like, it's probably the biggest spore producer. Like, you've seen there's pretty famous pictures of like the Japanese or like the Chinese, like where they're growing shitloads of reishi, and the whole ground is like covered in chocolate powder.
Oh yeah,
and then there's like,
that's a really good vitamin or something like that. I'm not sure, but isn't that like really expensive?
They actually sell capsules of the freaking spores because you could just scrape pounds of it off the top of the mushrooms.
That Fresh Cap dude did a video on that. That was really cool, man, to see them, to see those little greenhouses with them. And it is like, he showed maybe, I don't know, an inch thick on top.
Oh, you're talking about the greenhouse where they're down like aisles and they're all one conch? That looks
one conch, yeah.
It's so cool. Reishi is really, really fun. I don't know. I don't think it's related to anything, is it? It's just its own damn genus all by itself. I don't think it's related to anything. Like,
Ganoderma,
I'm sure it's related.
I've never heard of another Ganoderma.
No, I think there are, but I don't think they're edible or usable by people. There's a whole bunch of them that look similar, but that might just be convergent evolution. Maybe turkey tail. It's kind of a big.
Of that, but that's a polypore. I don't know.
Yeah, no. Yeah, maybe it's its own thing, man. But I mean, I'm telling you, it's a fun one. It's a neat one. Hey, that was intense.
Yeah, so my boys, while I was in here starting talking to you guys, my boys were down here with me, and they found my gel food coloring that I just got to make this agar, and poured it all over their little play table and on the floor. That's pretty awesome.
Wow. Hey, that's nice.
Starting them early.
That's great.
Yep. Right in the lab. Yep. Oh well, carpet's fine. It needs to get out of there anyway.
From the color I was seeing, that's probably just the food stuff in the bakery aisle, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you gotta try them right out.
Oh, try mica? Yeah. After I heard you guys talking about that, I actually looked it up. I didn't realize that's the stuff they use in nail polish, huh?
Yeah, well, food coloring. They use it in coloring food, nail polish, cosmetics, some foods.
Anything that you want to be sparkly, even paint.
Yeah, the paint. But it's totally edible. It's not. It's totally harmless. It's actually a mineral, and depending on how you put it under pressure and then shear it, it depends on how it reflects light, and that's how you get color from it. It has no dye at all. It's all clear when you put it under a microscope.
Right. Nice. I think I've seen it before, actually. I was kind of into that stuff when I was a little kid. It peels off in layers, doesn't it? The mineral?
Yeah, the mineral itself, does flake off in layers. My favorite brand of mica is the one called Eye Candy, and you can find it on Amazon. But it comes in some of these most beautiful, vibrant colors, including like weird stuff like glow in the dark and like the color changing, temperature changing type stuff.
Yeah.
But I've never tried growing on the temperature changing. That would be pretty cool because like mushrooms do put out some heat. So on your agar, it'd be kind of cool to see like a bullseye coming away from it, like starting like purple and like a mood ring, and going, changing colors.
That would be cool. Yeah, I never really cared about agar too much, other than just making it. I never really added any color, at least with the whole time I was doing gourmets. And just recently, I started, wanting to make them look pretty. So that's my goal right now. You guys there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. You're doing a really good. you're doing a really great job with those pictures that you sent me were impressive. Like, normally you see people who do like the gourmets and they have like, oh, look at my 4 trumpet mushrooms I got that came out the side of my bag. But you've got nice big flushes. So that's definitely props to you for that. What's your favorite gourmet to grow?
My favorite, as far as just eating, I would say it's the Phoenix oyster, man. Those things are something about those. You know, just the regular brown oyster. There's different. When you go to the commercial cultures, they have different numbers and everything on all the different strains.
All the different batches, yeah.
Yeah, so the Phoenix oyster is one I got from Main Captain Stem, and that man, that stuff, like just the way it cooks, it's just the texture of it is perfect, and has the best flavor out of anything. I mean, I love lion's mane too. That's probably my second favorite, and I don't know, lion's mane and trumpets are right there together. So I'd say Phoenix oyster.
I had a lot of
lion's mane and
pink trumpets. Pink trumpets I've had a lot of. I haven't ever tried the Phoenix oyster. Now I want to. Did you ever try that Black Pearl King oyster?
Oh yeah, I sent you a picture of one of the blocks I did of those. Those are incredible too. I mean, they're the funny thing about those is that they almost have like a floral smell to them while they're growing.
Oh yeah.
And then your daughter cracks me up, man. And then they have a really floral smell, but when you cook them up, they're just like trumpets. To me, I mean, as far as the texture goes, the flavor's a little different, but not crazy.
I like how aggressive they are. They're the only of the gourmet mushrooms that I've seen outcompete Trick. Like,
oh yeah,
I've seen them like I've had a Trick in a jar of grain spawn, and I've had them just like literally just outgrow it. I never, spawned the grain, but I just opened the top of it outside and the jar was green as grass, but it still had some wispy stuff. So I was like, I'm just going to put the jar like in the back of the closet, see what happens in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And come back to it, it's solid white. And I was like, I'm just going to open it up outside and see what happens. And I just opened it up outside, left it on the back porch, and I had a bunch of freaking the Black Pearl King oysters come out the top. So I was like, wow, pretty impressive, man. They're pretty strong.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're intense, man. They're kind of like Reishi. If you expand them out in liquid culture, it's just like, man, I had a bunch of liquid cultures from when I was doing the gourmets, and one of the Black Pearls, it was like really low nutrients, a little bit of honey in a jar with water, and it sat there forever. I mixed it the first week maybe, and then I hadn't touched it since. I think the date on it was September. And it was still growing. Like the blob in there was like still getting bigger. And it was out in my garage through the whole winter, like just freezing temperatures and everything. And that thing is still growing. So that stuff is resilient, man. I mean, it grows best at around 55 degrees. So I understand getting cold. It didn't freeze all the way, I guess, in my garage. So it never like became a solid liquid culture block. But it got close to that 32 Fahrenheit,
Yeah. Hey, what do you do with your spent blocks of gourmet? Because what I used to do is I'd have I think it was like a piece of shit Husky brand, just plastic shelving that I put outside. And I just lined them up on there. And then whenever the lawn sprinklers would come on, it'd water them. And whenever it rained, it would water them. And I'd still get flushes like months later.
Oh, totally. They'll just keep going. I mean, I have some out there from when I first started that if well, maybe not that early. I guess maybe halfway through my run. So that they're probably, getting close. This spring they'll be maybe a year old, and there's still mushrooms coming up from the area that those spent blocks got composted in. So I just throw them out. I throw them out in a pile, and I have a pile actually that's pretty trashy that's just sitting there still in bags. But I threw them in a big pile, and they all broke down. I had ink caps grow out of the whole pile. It was crazy, man.
I freaking love ink cap mushrooms.
Yeah, just a ton of them.
Not only are they tasty, but they're a lot of fun to fuck with people with.
Yeah, I've heard your stories about AA.
That's called poisoning.
Yeah, exactly. What? I don't know if
attempted murder.
No, it wouldn't kill them.
Sometimes I listen
die of dehydration.
Sometimes I listen to you guys and I'm like, man, if I like got into Farrell's head maybe for about 5 minutes, I might have to go in a straitjacket when I got out.
You might actually kill yourself.
I have a lot of fun. I'm not that crazy, Jesus. I don't know.
Right.
My wife's looking at me funny.
Right.
Because she's about to stab you.
She's the one that's stabby, not me. Yeah, I blame her.
So
yes,
I'm gonna keep that story going. So after the I don't get to tell this often, so I just feel I feel pretty happy to tell you guys, So everybody I talk to out here in the in the middle of nowhere, everybody I talk to about it, they're like, "Oh, okay, you mean like those ones that go on my steak at Applebee's?" I'm like, "Yeah, those ones." You know what I mean? But anyway, so when I started getting into those gourmets, I really got into it. I tend to obsess, like I think a lot of us do that are in the community. And I watched every video I could, and finally started growing them more and more in my basement. And then I wanted to automate it because at that time I was just spraying them and fanning them every now and then, but just leaving them on racks with slits in the bags, And I decided I wanted to actually start a little company and try to sell to the very few restaurants out here.
That works.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think I just went in over my head, to be honest. But
start small.
Yeah, I took out
you've got
some of my retirement and bought all the automation stuff, foggers, fans. I got a flow hood, which I don't think at the time the flow hood. I don't regret that at all, man. That thing is awesome.
Oh no.
Or the filter fan, but yeah. So there, and I started an LLC and everything. So I was like, I got a couple restaurants out here to buy, and I was providing a little bit every week, not a ton. I was working night shift, 12-hour shifts on nights, so it was tough to get up and deliver, and then go to work or whatever. It just threw me through a loop, man. I guess I should have just listened to my wife. Wait until
mushrooms are really hard to. They're really hard to grow without them pulsing, right? So it's really hard to have like a steady supply of them unless you're growing 4 or 5 times like the amount that you think you need, because they're kind of a pulse thing where one day you have you're covered up with them, and you might be a Tuesday and you're supposed to deliver shit on Friday, right?
Yep.
So you're just Tuesday you have buckets and buckets and buckets of mushrooms, and Friday you have shit.
Exactly.
So, it's one of those. You've got to have a like a co-op type thing going on where you have a dedicated group of people on Facebook or something like, hey, I have oysters right now, come get them.
Yeah, I did
do
that too a little bit.
Yeah,
I did that.
And then you have to have, set your blocks aside that are going to be the ones you feed the restaurants. So you need to make like 4 or 5 times what you think you need to be able to supply restaurants.
Oh yeah, man!
It's a pain in the ass.
I had to compost so many of them, and I tried giving them away. I tried drying them. I bought a refrigerator just on the marketplace or whatever. I bought a refrigerator, and was keeping them in there because my whole deal was like, if they were 2-3 days in the fridge, they could still go to the restaurants. But anything beyond 2-3 days, and that's only for certain strains, man. Like you can only do that for a couple. Then I wouldn't sell them to them. So I just had these mushrooms. Sometimes I get so many. And when I first started, I did 40 blocks just to try out my atmospheric pasteurizer. And that was fucking stupid, man. So yeah, 40 blocks of 10-pound blocks. And I don't even know how many pounds of mushrooms came from that. And I was giving them away, bringing them to the restaurants. There's this little store that sells local food from around the area, and they were selling them, but I just couldn't get rid of enough. So I probably composted that whole summer, maybe like 150 pounds of mushrooms.
Ouch, dude.
It was terrible.
So what I've found is that making value added products out of your mushrooms is much better than actually selling the mushroom. Does that make sense? Like making dried mushrooms and selling those is worth more than the actual like fresh mushroom. Or like dried lion's mane, like powder, and selling that is worth more. I can't believe how
expensive that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really expensive. I mean, there's imitations for sure, but you know, the stuff that's probably the best is definitely expensive. But you know, I think about other people. A lot of people do supplements nowadays anyway. They do their, you know, their pre-workout stuff or their shakes, and everyone has those mobile blenders. So that's why it works so well, you know, charging the $30-$40 for a bottle of capsules of lion's mane powder, when, you know, I don't know all the details, but I from what I gather, concentrates of lion's mane are like the most effective. I don't know if that's true. That's just what, you know, some of the people I've followed for a few years go by, and you know,
they're doing the extractions and double extractions and all sorts of fun stuff like that.
And some of them are grinding up the goddamn mycelium and selling it as freaking lion's mane.
Right. Yeah, with the soil and everything in it.
Yeah, not a fan of that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Dishonest.
It totally is. It's a good way to get rid of blocks, I guess, but that's about it.
You can sell your dehydrated like gourmet mushrooms. People use them all the time for soups, stews, things like that, and they'll hold forever in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber.
Yeah.
So I always try to come up with different ways, or like make salt out of them, like where you take like your mushrooms and you put them in the salt, so it flavors the salt. Yeah, people like that too.
Yeah, I've heard about that as well.
Umami and stuff to it.
It just, so you know, that kind of stuff it all takes a lot of time, and that's where I kind of failed to equate that into the whole thing. So, you know, that's pretty much what the demise was. It's like I could not find the time to like really keep it going, even at the small level. You know, the demand, I think I had a regular 35 pounds a week for a little while, and that was about it. But even that with one person who also has a full-time job is really tough to do. And I knew
once you get a cycle going, though, it'd be pretty much just, you know, you just have to give it like 3 hours every couple days.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is what I was doing, but it's even to do that was difficult for me.
Well, he's also got kids and everything else going on.
It's the kids and the night shift, man. It's always destroying me. And I didn't, you know,
the night shifts are. I'm pretty nocturnal just because of my job, and being awake during the day, man. I don't get sleepy until like 9 or 10 a.m. and then I'm just done. Like I'll fall asleep at the keyboard.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah. It's very difficult with night shift.
Yeah, it is. But you know, I love gourmets, and like I love the experience I got. I learned so many valuable lessons and everything. So I've really, at the point I'm at now, you know, back to actives, I'm like really excited to try, you know, just to see what's happening. Like I grew a couple tubs and bags so far, but they were just like from an old spore print from my earlier grows of B positive. So those are done, and I think I have about 10 bags of a bunch of different strains now, or varieties or whatever. So I'm just excited to get back to it.
There's so much stuff. There's so many different strains coming out every day.
Yeah.
It's just changing. Like
everyone's doing crosses now.
Oh
yeah. Like look at the weird ass shit that Trim just grew. That thing's cool as hell.
Oh, those rusty looking things.
They look like what is it? Stormtroopers at first.
Yeah.
But now they're long as hell, and they're not. The stems are freaking thin as hell. They look fucking awesome.
Yeah, they do.
They're
totally
cool. He was just showing that they were like staining kind of green, which was really pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah.
So you couldn't enjoy that then?
No, he can't see it. No, that's why he posted a picture. He's like, "Are these staining?"
Yeah.
He can't see it.
I got this homestead Melmac culture from way back when I did my first bag grows in the past. I only did a few of them at that time, but I say way back, but it really 2020 was when I started, so it's not that long. But this melmac culture, and these things were just monstrous, man. Like, I got from Spore, I got 107 gram fruit from one of the bags. So I cloned that and then never grew it out. And I actually found the plate in the fridge when I got back into growing the actives again recently, and tried to revive it, and it came right to life. And like, I have 4 bags of it growing right now just to see what comes out.
As long as the plate's still like wet, not dry as a cracker, it'll work just fine.
Yeah, it wasn't pinning or anything on it, but it had there was a little bit of bacteria that grew on one side of it, so I just cleaned it and used water agar for the first time and cleaned it up, and then put it on a new plate, and it just grew out beautifully, man. I have a good picture of it. I'll send you guys.
What's your agar recipe?
Right now I'm just using malt yeast agar, and I was actually early on, I was using potato flakes, potato flakes and agar and a little bit of sugar. And then, so now I'm strictly MYA for the moment, because I'm trying different amounts of each of the ingredients. So tonight I made 7 grams of light malt extract and 10 grams of agar and 1 gram of nutritional yeast. I've done 8, I've done 10. One of my old recipes said 15 grams of light malt extract, but I did that recently and it didn't do anything.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it didn't make any difference anyway.
Yeah.
I find that it's a bad idea to keep jumping around, only because when you have your own genetics and you're taking clones, you're taking prints of stuff that you've actually grown out.
Yeah,
it's actually learning to eat your agar. Your great. So the more you go, the more flushes you do, and the more rounds you go through, it's actually adjusted itself for your lab. But if you keep jumping all over the place, I mean, you're not going to get as far ahead as you could have.
Same with your substrate. If you just grow the same thing over and over again on the same substrate, every flush is going to get better. Just because it learns to utilize everything in your substrate.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. I had a bunch of plates that I did transfers to that were, I think, less nutrients, and I never thought of nutrients that much, man. Especially with the gourmets, it's like I just did potato or PDA for all the plates. And
gourmets are they've been very domesticated. The only one that's still not domesticated, I think, that acts like a wild mushroom is going to be your Reishi. Everything else has been so domesticated that, like, it's changed colors completely, right? Or it's changed shape completely, like the chihuahuas of freaking mushrooms. You can't just throw them out there in the wild. They need to be babied a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that growing gourmet is more challenging than growing actives, just because, you have to, the substrate is the food. And people don't have to kind of switch their thinking around. Like, you don't need to spawn 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or whatever with your gourmet. All you need to do is have enough grain in there to distribute the mycelium. Now, I grow actives like I grew gourmet. I make a very nutritional substrate, and I just use the grain to distribute the mycelium through the substrate, and I have the actual psilocybin mushrooms eating my substrate instead of just fruiting off of the grain.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the forest floor.
Yeah. It's the fourth floor.
Son of a...
He hates it that it's so well known. He hates it.
CG, man. That's what I have. I have a huge bag of vermiculite from way back, and coco coir is easy to come upon. So I just use that. I don't even know if the gypsum's necessary, really, but I throw a handful in.
It's good for pH regulation and some calcium. It's not going to hurt anything at all.
Yeah.
I've used just shitty, like, organic potting soil mix and thrown a couple of additives in there and some lawn clippings and made something similar to a bastardized forest floor that freaking rocks. Like, it works great. Nice. I think it cost me like $7 to make 7 cubic feet of it. So it was cheaper than any other way I've ever made substrate before.
Nice. Yeah. I didn't with substrates. I haven't really fucked around a whole lot. I just, I've stuck to like what has worked. But also, like I said, I've only been doing all of this for maybe a little over 3 years. So not even 3 years.
You need to play around with substrate. It's a lot of fun, and it's a deep ass rabbit hole.
I bet.
that is a huge rabbit hole.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a big rabbit hole.
I can see.
And you'll make fucking enemies too. People freaking hate like challenging their ideals online.
Yeah.
Like,
I've
gotten in quite a few fights where I'm like, CVG is boring. Try something different. And people are like, it's the God's way. It's like
I've even sent him hate mine myself.
Yeah. There's no mycological dogma, man. I've learned that for sure. I mean, there's so many ways to do things that work, and like some of the stuff I've heard you guys talk about, and other people, like they just, I mean, there's so many ways they'll grow on anything. They grow in nature, but if you're just wanting something tried and true to really get going, stick to those for sure, right? But yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna get bored because I get bored with stuff pretty easy, so I'll start messing around a lot more in the future for sure. Like I messed around with my grains quite a bit recently because with the actives, I only ever used popcorn, brown rice, and what do you call it, oats. But recently, I went back to popcorn, and I like it, but I always had the biggest flushes. It seemed like back in the day when I used popcorn, but I've always wanted to try millet, so I finally went and got some millet at the feed mill, and it's great so far, man. It just the way just a regular old plate that's not too rhizomorphic or anything like that, it came out looking totally ropey and everything in this new jar, so I'm digging it.
Nice. Yeah. I kind of stick to oats just because it's widely available here and cheap. I'm not in a real big grain growing area, so I'm kind of stuck where I'm in a textile and meat area, not a grain area.
Yeah.
So it's kind of difficult to get all these. I hear people talk about, oh man, I got a 50-pound bag of millet for like $14. I'm like, what the fuck? If I tried to go do that, it's like $50 for a 50-pound bag. Right, I have to special order it.
Yeah, I'm in a grain, pretty grain growth, a lot of grain growth in this area, and still millet was $29 for that bag, but they had Milo for $18. So next time I'm going to try, and that's oats out here even they're like $26 for a 50-pound bag. That's Tractor Supply at the.
That sounds familiar. That's what I paid.
Right, but they might be a little bit less, but still, that Milo, man, I love the color of it for one.
Is that the red Milo?
Yeah, I'm gonna try it next.
All right, so be very careful and read the tag because some of that stuff is treated.
Right? Yeah, you got to get the bird stuff, right?
Well, you can get just a feed red Milo. You know what I found works really well that people fucking hate me for?
What's that?
Cheap ass Tractor Supply chicken scratch. Works great. It's 75. It's like 75% freaking Milo and 25% cracked corn, and it's got millet, Milo, and corn in it, and wheat, and that's pretty much it. And I'm like, well, all four of those things are things we make grain spawn out of. So I've used it. You just can't cook it for a long time, or the cracked corn turns to like jello. Yeah. So. It's one of those things where, and everything else in there's a real small grain. So it's one of those things you just dump hot water on, right? Mm-hmm. You just bring your water to boiling and then put your grain in one pot and just pay porsies with the hot water and then leave it alone for an hour or two and it's hydrated and done. Just jar it up in your grate.
Nice. Yeah, I might check that out one of these times.
It's cheap. Bag. It's like $8 or so a pound. I mean, a bag here. So $8 for a 50-pound bag is pretty damn hard to beat.
Yeah, you can't beat that. Even that new feed corn that a lot of people are using is like $12 to $15, I think, for a 50-pound bag.
As long as it's feed corn and not deer corn. But we talked about this in the last episode, I believe, last night, or maybe we didn't. But we were talking about the difference there is the aflatoxin content, right? If it's for some animal that humans are going to eat, it has a low aflatoxin. So if it's for your like cows or it's for animal feed, that. But if it's for deer corn, there's a loophole that allows them to have like several hundred parts per billion or parts per million of aflatoxin, which does eventually build up on like the livers and the muscle tissue of the animal and can, then be passed on to you. And mushrooms are extremely good. They're like little poison dart frog fuckers. They're super good at harvesting shit from the wild and concentrating it in their tissues. So it would suck to have you eat the delicious ass mushroom, trip your balls off, and then wake up, look in the mirror, and you're orange because you have liver failure.
Yeah, that would not be good.
It sounds like fun.
Yeah, sounds like a good
liver. 0 out of 10. Liver failure, bad way to die.
Yeah.
Shit.
Man, I had plenty of days waking up feeling like that. Don't want to do that again on purpose.
Yeah, so I would be careful about what you like, heavy metals, stuff like that. I'd be careful about what I expose my growing mushrooms to. But yeah, no, I tried the red millet. I believe I was in our group when I tried that. I get sorghum. Was it sorghum that I tried? And I fucking said never again. And
that was the stuff that you it overflowed your pot.
And when no, Jesus Christ, yeah. Well, it expanded like the I think it was just the red. It's sorghum, and it smelled super sweet. Like sorghum, they make syrup out of it.
Yeah,
but it expanded like the kernels expanded at least 10 times what their size. So I dumped in probably 10 pounds into a 7-gallon pot and then added water, and it was hot water, and went away, and I come out, it's standing like 3 inches above the pot and like out all over the ground and everything. And I was like, holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then it did not colonize well. I don't know if it was me or if I needed to wash it better or like period, or if it was treated with something, but it did not colonize well for me at all. It colonized so slow, and maybe it's just not super nutritious like for the critters.
Yeah.
Or I washed all the sugars off of it, or I don't know. I screwed it up. I imagine I screwed it up because I see people run the sorghum and they run great. So it just didn't work real well for me.
Yeah.
It smells really good.
Does it?
Oh yeah. No, squirrels ate really well that week.
I had a bad batch of millet because I didn't look up, I didn't like read about like different people's texts with it or whatever, and I just went for it, make any other grain. Like oats, I never washed oats. I just throw them in the bucket, and let them soak overnight or whatever. But millet, I think you gotta wash it because I like made a batch my first night, and it was like it just came out so sticky.
I think it's because they're so small that if you do leave all that dust and fucking rat shit and whatever else is in that bag, it congeals into a fucking almost like mashed potatoes if you don't clean it up.
That must have been what it was, man. Just the dirt or the dust or whatever is in there. But yeah, if you rinse them, man, these things like move around so smooth, just like popcorn moves around in the jar really nice. Like this millet, it's like you wouldn't even know it's hydrated, other than like the weight to it. But I really like it so far, man.
Have you ever added like straw or anything like that to your grape spawn?
Never.
Try it.
I know. I heard you guys talking about the mycelium just like shoots right through the shoots, man.
Yeah.
It is basically like shoots and ladders.
Yeah.
It goes right up to the next level.
Yeah.
I had chopped straw to mine, and it not only adds like air pockets that help the mycelium so it doesn't get like choked out in any one spot, I think because it adds the air pockets, it keeps down on your bacteria. Also, the straw, I put it in there dry. Usually, I mix it in with my grains dry, so it'll absorb any excess moisture, right?
Yeah.
And man, mycelium just shoots through the hollow parts of it and stuff like that. It pops out in a different spot, so you get it. It colonizes a lot faster, I found, with the chopped up straw, than it does just by itself with grain.
Well, shit, I could just go up the street and grab some out of one of the fields.
Yeah, you might want to chop it up there yourself with some scissors, because the chopped straw that I buy it in a bale from Tractor Supply, and I think it's like $10 or so, or $12 a bale. And there's a shit ton in that bale. And even when I was like growing gourmets and everything on a huge scale, I still would only use like a bale every few months. Yeah. And when I was selling tons of grain spawn, I was only using a bale every couple of months, just because it really you only need like 2 handfuls for an entire cement mixer.
Nice.
I mean, you're not adding. When people get a picture, I think they're thinking, oh, it's 50-50 straw. Nah, it's maybe 4 or 5% straw.
Yeah, so you get basically a few nice pieces in there for everything to run through and all that in each jar or whatever.
Yeah, all you're doing is if you can see it like with your eyes somewhere in there, you got plenty.
Yeah,
it just seems to work really, really well.
I'm gonna try it out. Definitely.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put some of that in there one of these days.
It works good. Other weird shit that I do, I've had perlite, but I soak the perlite in coffee, and then just use I think it's a device that they use for woks to like a Chinese cooking wok.
Yeah.
It's like a screen little dude, and I just use that to just pick it up out of the coffee pot and chuck it into the grain spawn, because the coffee acts like little pockets of moist coffee in there. Just really get it going.
Yeah. And that perlite, mycelium doesn't really mind it, right? It
doesn't
takes the water from it and goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a perlite from my first PF Tech grow. The bag that came with the grow kit.
I tried to make a grain-free grain spawn. Total fucking mess. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. And here's what I did: is I took perlite and I threw it into my my cement mixer, because I absolutely love that thing. I try to use it for everything I can. And then I just gradually added little bits of water and like coffee and like nutrients and like cupfuls of brown rice flour. And what I ended up with was a hailstones, right? So there was like
is that little like little fucking like snowballs?
Yeah, little snowballs. Where it would make where you had the little you had the piece of perlite in the very middle, and it was like a perfect little snow globe of packed brown rice flour on the outside. And I was like, fuck yeah, I just invented the coolest fucking thing in the entire goddamn world. This is going to be cool. This is going to be resistant to everything. It's going to be sweet. Wouldn't colonize where the fuck. Total failure. It just turned into... Oh, yeah, no, it was a big fuck around to find out. Wouldn't colonize where the damn. Total failure. Abject failure.
But now
looked cool, but man, it would turn bacterial at the drop of a hat. It was cool. Maybe if I did it different next time, it would come out a little bit better. But man, it was a mess. Yeah, the cleanup was not fun either.
That doesn't sound fun.
Nah, the backyard squirrels ain't good.
Yeah. Damn, time's been flying by, huh?
That's when you know it's good.
Yeah, I think so, man. I was like I don't even know when we started, but I just looked at the time. It's getting a little late.
Well, you need to go, bud?
I need to go probably pretty soon. I hate to do that, man, because we could probably spend like 3-4 hours talking. We haven't really even dove into the more of the active stuff that I'm like so stoked about right now. But
well, what's the thing you're most excited about right now then?
Oh man, it's got to be some of the genetics that I'm running.
What genetics gets you going?
Yeah, I started when I started back. I just started with like I said, the B positive that I had prints of from way back, and started collecting a few. I ordered a couple, and then just like the newer stuff that like everyone's growing, like Jack Frost and Ape Revert, some of these other ones. Anyway, I got a bunch of those growing, and then those are kind of cool, but I didn't spend a lot of money on them. I just started them from spore, but I actually recently got some cultures coming, so I'm pretty excited about that. I got a Nutcracker, and
I am a trader. I love the trade.
Oh, he'll trade you anything. He's a dirty, dirty hooker. Yeah.
Well, hey, I'll take you up on that.
What do you have? What do you have coming that you're most excited about as far as genetics wise?
Me?
Yeah.
I think it's this squat culture from our dude Dirty South. I ordered one of his KSS squat, whatever it's called.
Oh yeah.
Those things look so badass every time I see them growing.
Yeah,
and
they do.
I love the squats, man. And
we tried to do the peyote. We were trying to get the peyote cut, the one that looks like peyote. That thing's so fucking cool.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
But did it look like peyote? I don't know what you grew. Well, then why didn't you grow it out and take more pictures of it?
Absolutely. You know I'm a whore. That shit was up there. Tons. I even sent you a plate.
I probably do have it, but I want to grow a whole tub of that shit and just look at it like that. Hey, what little active cactuses is. Because they're adorable. It's really, really cute.
Yeah, those peyote, the mushroom ones, those ones, I saw a tub. It had to be a bigger monotub of some sort, but man, that thing, it was like a field of brown peyote buttons. It was just beautiful. I don't know why.
It even pinned on the plate, and it looked like peyote on the plate.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah. I had a tat. I also got some of the tat genetics. So I had a tat plate recently, just 2 days ago or so, sprouted up a thing, and it kept growing fatter and fatter, but no length to it at all. So I took that shit out of there and cloned it. So I'm gonna grow that out, see what happens.
Chase that pheno.
That's right, man. I want to have my own little squat. I'm not even gonna put a name on it. I'll just have it and give it to people I like.
Pheno hunting is one of the best things about this hobby, and see, that's one of the things I bet you that like lawmakers and government official types don't really get is that this is a freaking hobby. For 99% of us, this is like really involves stamp collecting.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, it probably sounds like it. Someone talking.
I've got like a baseball card holder full of fucking sport prints.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
It's exactly. It's like for the like intelligent, ADD, scientifically minded people, this is no different than collecting baseball cards.
Right.
We collect every type of sport print, every type of genetics we can. Are we turning around and selling it? No. We're usually just growing it out for ourselves to see what the hell it looks like, take a bunch of pictures for internet points, and to show our friends, and then we're consuming it ourselves. Like we're not out there distributing to every mom and pop on the road. It's for personal freaking use. And it's not like you're running around and as an everyday get high thing. You can't. You build up so much. You literally can't. You start on day 1 taking a gram and feeling a little bit buzzed, but on day 7 you would need 22 grams to get the same fucking buzz. Like you'd have to eat a wheelbarrow full by day 30. So it's not like you can use it every day. Like you see people smoke weed or something where they smoke it every freaking day. You can. Right. It's just not. It's a self-regulating type drug.
That's why I wonder about the whole legalizing it market thing. Like, kind of like, is there really a market like that? Like, how many people, like, you go to the local or the places that have legal weed, like, you can go there every single day and be happy. But like, you go to a mushroom shop, you buy a little bit and take some with your friends, and then you got to wait a couple weeks to take more. How is that going to be a good business model? It makes no sense.
It's not. It's But it's not that big of that good of a business model. And that's why you won't see like dedicated mushroom shops. What'll happen is it'll just be like a small section of the weed shop has mushrooms. So. Or like, right. Because it's just one of those things that's self-regulating. You can't get fucked up on it every day. It's just not possible.
I think this world will become a better place, though, for sure. As more and more people learn about them, first, I'm not saying the legalizing will make it a better place. Like, I don't think we need to get into the whole political side and all that, but like, definitely, man, if the more people that find out, and even in my area, you would come to this area and never think that people would be interested in any kind of gourmet or any kind of mushroom other than, like I said, a mushroom topping at Applebee's or something. You know what I mean? But they are, because it's getting that popular,
Oh, yeah.
It's better for the world. It's better for everything.
And the best thing is, once you start it up and people know it's there, then they just want to try it. And then you got them coming back next week. And then you got more people. So it's just it's continually growing.
Yeah, and
the neurotropic benefits are great too. Like I think the big threat from the mushrooms is it's going to cut into profits of pharmacy profits, right?
Tons.
And like your SSRIs, stuff like that have been the main staple of psychological treatments are really not going to be very popular once you get into the neurotropic benefits of like psilocybin containing mushrooms. And then once they start figuring out all the different tryptophans that like what all they all do and isolate those, I think it's going to be a whole new field of medicine, and it's going to be great.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the whole SSRI thing is like, that to me kind of seems like the biggest benefit out of all of it with the actives, because I don't need to tell my whole story or anything, but like just the microdosing thing, it took me out of some of the darkest pits I've been in my life, so I think it can help people more than they even know at this point.
Well, have you seen the studies that they're doing with people with Alzheimer's and dementia? And psilocybin, it's pretty cool, man.
Oh, with the Johns Hopkins and all that.
Yeah.
I've kept up with some of that stuff, and the MAPS organization. I think they focus more on MDMA, but they're also doing the psilocybin trials, and the whole thing with mixing the lion's mane, and I didn't know they were doing it with dementia patients yet, which is awesome, because I always thought, man, lion's mane and psilocybin for dementia patients makes total sense, right?
They're now recommending prescriptions for lion's mane for people with dementia or early onset dementia, and that's actually hitting like widespread news. It was in the Geriatrics Medical Journal the other day. So I was like, that's pretty damn cool. Once it starts hitting the main medical journals and starts becoming a regular thing that everybody's going to be putting out there, is that, hey, prescribed lion's mane because we're seeing actual physical brain changes from it.
Yeah, when
it's even preventative.
See it on a graph, man, that's when it becomes real to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's going to be really neat. Well, buddy, it sounds like you probably got to go because you got kiddos that sound hungry.
Yeah, they've been extremely good. I would say, besides the gel coloring on the floor, but I figured they'd be breaking down here, like, climbing all over me halfway through. But it was really awesome. It's been awesome talking to you guys too.
Hey, man, I really enjoyed having you on. You're gonna hang out in the Discord more often, bud.
Oh yeah, I will. My job is very low maintenance, so it's a lot of just babysitting a big machine. So it's really that's
the horse squeezer. I didn't even give you shit for the horse squeezer.
Yeah, I really don't need to go.
The opposite of the horse whisperer.
Yeah.
There we go. We'll just go with horse whisperer and leave it at that.
Now it sounds like you do something erotic.
Right. Yeah, it's not that glorious. It's not that beautiful. Don't worry.
Yeah. Wait, it's not a donkey show? Wait, what?
You say a donkey show?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I don't have a filter. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm not sorry.
We'll have to go down that road next time. Maybe talk about that and maybe more pretty disgusting stuff. So,
yes,
fantastic,
excellent.
Well, we come to the end of everything, and if anybody wants to get a hold of any sort of the grain spawn that we've been talking about, that I personally made, or that Deadpool makes, you can always get a hold of Deadpool in our Discord at the FAFO Cult Discord. The link will be in the bottom of the show notes. He also's got a substrate that's ready to go too. If you want to cheat and not make it yourself, or you're just starting out and you're looking for success, going with homemade or already made professional products is a good way to go. As we come to the end of every podcast, as usual, we try to say something nice to everybody, and we're going to start traditionally with Deadpool. Go for it,
I have
buddy.
the best ones. How about this one? Every dead body on Mount Everest was once a highly motivated person. So relax and stop staring at your tubs.
That's good, man. That's a good one.
All right. SirJackalope.
Oh, man. I thought about this earlier, and I had a couple of things that I thought would be funny, but after we talked, I think something that I should say, let's see. I think everyone growing actives should at least try growing lion's mane once. And I know a lot of people are interested and want to, but I think you've got to bite the bullet and just do a couple bags and try it out, because there's something that happens when you start growing gourmets, and you might really enjoy it. So give it a shot.
Nice.
Yep. And then for me, I'm going to say reach out to an elderly person in your life, whether it's an elderly neighbor or somebody from a church group or anything like that. A lot of the times, they're a lot more lonely than you think they are. They've outlived their friends. They've outlived their family. Their only interaction, it might be the mail guy or Meals on Wheels. You know, so reach out to them and say hi. You might have something in common with them. They might have great stories to tell you.
They might have spore prints.
They might have spore prints.
Yeah, you never know.
But just be thankful for what you have every day and try to make somebody's life better. Once again, you can get a hold of us at our FAFO Cult Discord. Link will be in the bottom. If you want to send us money, we promise to use it for just pure debauchery, absolutely nothing good. You can get a hold of us with our cash app.
I have a good imagination.
$$ $FAFO Cult. And if you're going to get us on Venmo, it is going to be at FAFO Cult. If you want to go on Etsy and buy any sort of insane art that comes from our brain or the AI art generator that we use, we can go ahead and do that at fafocult.etsy.com. We appreciate you guys. We love our listeners. Hey, did you know we just picked up a bunch of listeners in India and Thailand?
I saw
since last episode. Like now 4% of our freaking listeners are now in India. That is cool. Hi, India. Kick back.
Super rad.
Send me some damn spores.
Everybody's got spores for me.
If you're one of our listeners in Thailand or in India, come on and shoot us an email. That'll be fafocult@gmail.com and tell us your experiences with psilocybin or mushroom growing and what kind of species you guys have locally. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to have you on the show at some point because you're just completely on the other side of the world. It'd be fun to talk to you.
And Deadpool would love to have your spores.
And Deadpool would love to have your semen, spores. Or
I am a spore whore. I'm a spore whore. I'm making that shirt as soon as we get off.
Spore whore. I love it. All right, guys. It's great talking to you guys. And once again, this is SirJackalope. You can find him in the Discord as well if you'd like to harass him or pick his brain later. Love you guys. We love all of our listeners. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Peace.